What's up, y'all? It's JC the Sniper once again coming to you, and I'm guessing that you can tell by the knives on the table here that I'm doing another blade review. Because as you probably know, if you've been watching my videos at any time, I've kind of got a little bit of a knife addiction, I suppose. I just really enjoy collecting them, and I enjoy using them, and I like good quality knives when I find them, especially if I can find them for a value, like I did with this one, which you guys may know if you saw my review on it, that I got it at a gun show for a lot less than half the price that it is MSRP. Same with this one. Got it around half price MSRP at a gun show. So I got a good deal on it, and I think it's awesome. I just love that big old flat ground blade. I think it's beautiful, and I really like this color. And they're just great to, you know, it just feels good to actuate. It's just fun to play with. Whips open fast, and it's a big old blade. I love this knife. It's probably one of my favorites. And then of course, I've got my Byrds, which are very similar. You may have seen me review the Byrd Cara Cara FRN, the first generation, and also my G10 Cara Cara. So the one we're reviewing today is the FRN Cara Cara 2, and that's it right there. Look at that. Now you may notice some changes in it already, but we'll talk about it here in a second. I went online and ordered one of these because I got a Cara Cara 2 for my buddy Tomcat as a gift, and you know, so anyway, I got this one from yourcornerstore.com, and it is an excellent website. I'm just going to say that right now. I had quick service, ordered it, and I got a ridiculous deal on this knife. Let's see, what's MSRP on these? MSRP is $30 for this knife. I got it for a lot less than that, and you can probably routinely find these around $20. But I saved a boatload on this, getting it at yourcornerstore.com, and they also had these before they were up on the Spyderco website. I was looking for this version on the Spyderco website, and at the time they had the G10 version and they had the FRN Rescue version up, and I didn't want either of those. You know, maybe at some point, but just not right now. I wanted one of these, and they had it on their website before Spyderco even had it up, which is crazy. So anyway, go over the specs here. Overall length is 8 9/16, so just a little bit shorter than the Endura. Close length 4 27/32. Hole diameter 15 32, if you care about that. Blade length is 3 3/4, so once again a little bit shorter than the Endura. Cutting edge is 3 3/16. Blade thickness is an 1/8. Blade steel is an 8CR 13 MOV, and the overall weight is 3.4 ounces. So, anywho, now that we've done the specs, let's talk about the particulars of this here blade. This blade is pretty close to the Cara Cara 1, as you can tell just by looking at it. However, there are a few differences, so we'll talk about those. First of all, philosophy of use for this blade is going to be an EDC or a tactical folder. Definitely usable as a tactical folder. Even more so than the original Byrd, which I thought was pretty good as a tactical folder. And I'd say it's pretty close to being just as good as a Endura for tactical purposes. So it's definitely a good blade for tactical if that's what you want it for, but also an excellent blade for EDC. As we just talked about the size and the weight, 3.4 ounces, so it's very, very light for a blade of this size. For almost a 4-inch blade, you know, coming in under 4 ounces, that's really good. But as you guys know, I don't harp too much on weight because I'm carrying around this big old 6-ounce, G10 stainless steel Byrd that just weighs a crap load, but I don't care. I mean, I don't even notice this being in my pocket, you know. I really don't even notice my Glock on my body and my extra ammo, so I carry 31 rounds of 9mm and a firearm, and I don't really notice that, so this isn't going to make too big of a difference. Now, if I was going backpacking and I really want to cut down the ounces, maybe I'm going to care a little more. Maybe I'd rather go with one of these. So, you know, it just depends on the application. For everyday use, I don't really care about the weight. I mean, it could, if it was a 20-ounce knife, that'd be one thing. That'd be ridiculous. The steel, as we said, is 8CR13 MOV, which I've had really good luck with. I've got 8CR in my Kershaw Oso suite. A couple other knives I've got. And I've had good luck with it. It seems to hold an edge well. It's less expensive. You know, this Endura MSRP is $95, and a pretty good chunk of that is the fact that this has VG10 steel. These with the 8CR13 MOV are just a lot cheaper because it's a less expensive steel. And it's a good middle-of-the-road steel. It's not too fancy, but it's not real crappy. It's not a 420. It's pretty close to AUS 8, which I also like. So I think it's a good steel. It's good enough for the application. I think it's a good option, especially if you don't want to shell out the money for an Endura. The blade shape, I love. Some people complained about this bump here on the Cara Cara 1. I didn't mind it. I thought it looked kind of cool, honestly. I mean, I think that blade shape is pretty neat. But I can see how some people might not like it. It is a little funky. But the Cara Cara 2 has gotten rid of that. No bump. Maybe, you know, there's a tiny little wave there, but not a bump like that one. They've gone more towards the Endura look. Not quite the Endura, but not quite the Byrd, so it's kind of in between. The blade does have a little bit more sweep than the Endura does, which I like. Gives you a nice slash cut or slicing motion if you should need it. And the hole is one thing I noticed. If you look at the holes, the hole on this one is smaller than the hole in this one, and I think they did that because they made this full flat ground, which is pretty much the bomb in my opinion. I love full flat ground. I like it a lot better than that style. And I think that's why they made this hole shorter, so it wouldn't interrupt the flat ground as much. And I think it looks really nice. I mean, I think that's just a beautiful blade with that flat ground finish. It's excellent. Another thing I noticed about it is, if you look at this blade, see how fine that tip comes to? It tapers a lot. This one doesn't taper quite as much. You can see there it stays thicker towards the point. So this actually has a stronger tip than the flat ground Endura. So maybe if you want a flat ground blade, but you're a little bit afraid of that very fine point on the Endura, maybe go for one of these. A little bit heavier tip, going to be a little bit stronger in the tip. Of course, if you're not dropping your blade on concrete, that shouldn't be a problem. But if that's something you don't like, maybe go for one of these. Another thing is, this blade shape makes this thing razor sharp. They also, I don't know if you can tell, because my camera's not that great, but the edge here, they started cutting the edge really far back on the blade. It's a much wider relief edge than even on the Endura. This has a shorter relief edge than this one does. And that extra relief edge made this thing a razor blade. I mean, it is sharp. I mean, look at that. Just cutting curls of paper with this thing. It is a sharp, sharp, sharp blade. It's amazing. I mean, I was astounded by the sharpness of this thing out of the box. Way better than my Byrd Cara Cara 1. Much better sharpness. This was still really sharp, but this is literally a razor blade, and it was not a razor blade. This one was not a razor blade, so I'm very, very impressed by that edge. Excellent edge, and I love the way they've profiled this. Very, very steep angle, or I guess shallow angle grind. This one's significantly steeper, so not quite as fine an edge. Speed of deployment is pretty good. It's not quite as good as my original Byrd, but I don't know if that's because I've been, messing with these a lot and it's kind of loosened it up. But these things come out of the handle really quick, and this one's not quite as quick. It's not as quick as my Endura either. And part of that, I think, is just because it hadn't worn in yet. So I think it'll get better. But it's not quite as fast, but still really, really fast. You just got to get a little bit more wrist action in there, and it pops out really fast. So the speed is still good. One thing was it was a little bit gritty at first when I got it. So I sprayed some rim oil in there, and I worked it a bunch, and it's gotten a lot better. So it'll probably continue to improve. But that's that. Still good speed. Can't complain too much about that. Lockup is still excellent. It locks up solidly, no play side to side or up and down at all. Locks in real tight, and it's got this lock back, and the lock back is really positive. You have to push it all the way down in the handle before that thing will move. So good room for wear, and also very good lockup. Very strong. Has skeletonized steel liners in there. They are not exactly fully skeletonized, but they are skeletonized. They could have taken some more material out, but they did a pretty good job with it. So, it makes it a very strong knife with the steel liners, the lockback design, 1/8 inch thick blade, very, very strong. Handle material is FRN, much like the original Cara Cara, which also came in FRN, and the Spyderco's in FRN. I will say the FRN does not feel quite as nice as the FRN in the Spyderco knives. But I think that may be due to the way that FRN is shaped rather than the quality of the material. Ergonomics are really good on this blade. Has that forward finger choil. Has a nice thumb ramp and jimping, so you can get a good grip on this if you're going to come forward and do some fine cutting. And that thumb ramp also indexes your thumb if you're going to be back here making a slashing cut or a stabbing attack. You're not going to slide forward on that blade. It's also textured along the back of the spine here, which isn't really effective, but it's okay. And this new texturing is really good. Just as good as Spyderco's Volcano Grip. Maybe even a little bit better. It really digs in. Way, way better than this. This is a little bit slick. I mean, it grips okay, but it's a little slippy. This is not. This is not slick at all. As you can see there, my thumb does not slide when I push forward on this. It locks it in tight. So that's really excellent. And, it lays in your hand amazingly, just like the Enduras and the other Byrds. Feels great in the hand, feels good up here, feels good all the way back here, choking back. Any way you hold this, reverse grip, it's just very comfortable, and that's great. So, very good ergonomics, and, that's just really good. Clip design, also excellent. They've gone from the Byrd clip, which was just a square thing like that, to a Spyderco clip. As you can see, these two clips are identical and swappable. So